Let's talk about school anxiety and school refusal today because it's coming up a lot in my conversations with mothers. It's something I personally have dealt with a lot, and also in my work as a guidance counselor, it's something I do a lot of work around with families, with mothers, with primary school age kids. So fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, it's something I've learned a lot about in the last couple of years. So the first thing I want to recognize is the feelings and emotions and stress that school anxiety causes for you as the mum. And I know this because for me as a mum with my littlest who really struggled last year, it is big. It feels big. It feels overwhelming. It can make you want to suddenly pull them out of school and homeschool. It can bring up a lot of your own stuff. So I just want to first acknowledge that and hold space for you here in this moment. And we're going to be talking about your nervous system in this conversation because it is so important. How you react to their reaction is a really big part of the whole story, and it is a really big part of unraveling it and coming to a place where they can happily go off to school without all the stress, without all the tears, without the anxiety, without the bribery, without the cajoling, all of those things. So let's start with the fact that just because they're feeling nervous about going to school or they're expressing that they don't want to go to school doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong at school. While of course it might, and it's always a good first place to start to talk to your child's teacher, to talk to the school and see if something has gone on recently for them. Often I find there's actually nothing that's happened for that child necessarily at school. Usually what I find is there's something going on for that child in their life that is causing them stress, and they haven't been able to process that with an adult. They haven't been able to move through that stress. And times of transition are typically when that stress comes out. And you probably already noticed this from your own kids. So going to school, going to bed, coming home from school, so those transition times where you're either moving away from them or moving towards them are typically times where those big emotions come out. Maybe you even know that this still comes up for you when you go and see your own mum. I know for me, if I'm having a bad day, I can hold it together, but the moment I see my mum, it all comes out. And I think that's because as we've grown up, our nervous system is conditioned to work with other people, and that we let it all out and we let it go in conjunction with those people who we feel safe with, and typically that's our parents. And I guess I want you to know that it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with school, because I think sometimes we can waste a lot of energy trying to have conversations with our kids about what's going on at school. Are you being bullied? What's happening? What didn't you like? Where did you feel uncomfortable? But kids don't really process on this cognitive level. They don't think about things like we think about things. And so it can sometimes be a waste of time to go into the story about it. Or they can start making up a story about it because they can see that that's what you want. You want to be able to understand it and make meaning from it, so they can look for a story which might not actually address the problem at all, because we're just creating a story about feelings in the body that probably haven't even come from school at all. So how do we deal with this then? If this is a stored stress that's coming up in the body and it's coming out around school, we can do a number of things. We can work on the nervous system, so work on relaxing both your nervous system, so your stress system, and your child's stress system. We can reassure and be really calm and confident in our approach to taking them to school and to going to school and dealing with that transition to school. And then we can also allow them opportunities to play in a way that can process all of that stored stress that might be coming up. So where is the stress coming from? It could be coming from any number of situations in your life. If you've recently moved, if you've added a new baby to the family, it might just be from one very small incident that happened in your home that maybe didn't even register as stressful for you. But when you consider that your child has a nervous system that's still developing, so your nervous system is the system in your body that registers safety and then reacts in a way to keep you safe. So as a small child, they might perceive something that happens in your home as unsafe, even though it wasn't unsafe for them. Their body's going to have a stress response, even though yours might have experienced the same thing, but didn't go into a stress response about it, because you were able to regulate your system and know that in this situation, I am actually actually safe. So there could be any number of things going on for your child that you might not necessarily have registered as a stressful event. While sometimes it's really obvious, other times they're really subtle things that you just missed, that they experienced. Sometimes it is something that happened at school, but they haven't had an opportunity to talk about it with you in order to come down from that stress. So the first thing in helping your child with this is always going to be about helping your nervous system first. So this is why so much of my work is around mothers, because I know that when we as mums feel calm and regulated and safe, then we're able to offer and set that same tone for our kids and for our family. So you need to start with you first. And sometimes that's exploring your own beliefs and experiences and feelings about school. Sometimes we have inadvertently created a stress about school because of how we feel about going to school. We feel stressed about letting them go because our experience wasn't great, or we feel stressed about letting them go because they're our baby. And so we need to process those own feelings for ourselves first. So how do we do that? Tools of yoga and meditation and breath work are all really valuable tools in bringing you back to a really baseline state, which doesn't always mean calm. It doesn't mean you can't get excited. It doesn't mean that you can't feel angry, but it means that you're able to ebb and flow with emotions and not feel like you have to stop them or shut them down. You can be present with your own emotions and also the emotions of others without feeling triggered by them yourself, without feeling like you have to react with anger when your child is angry, without feeling like you have to feel deep sadness when your child is sad. You can become a container for their emotions, which is so much of what mothering is, containing and being this space that holds the experiences of our children without needing to react to it or be triggered by it. So absolutely the first step is connecting in here. I really recommend breath work and meditation for this. The physical practice is also great in many ways. The physical practice lets us kind of shake off before we settle into that breath work and meditation. But it is really a process of becoming centered in our own emotions and really allowing ourselves to feel our own emotions so that we can recognize it in others. So if you don't already have a yoga or a meditation or a breathwork practice, I'd love to invite you into my online yoga circle. So this is my community for mothers, and all of the practices are around fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum. So suitable whichever stage you're currently in. So then, once you are feeling grounded and centered and able to hold this space for your kids, how do you then work with them around the stress that they need to process? I think first of all, recognizing that it's not going to be a one and done thing. This is not a conversation about school and what's bothering them, and then we're going to give them solutions and we're going to move on from it. If only life were that simple. This is about showing up and being present to their experience and struggle and emotions, and just almost being a witness, being a container for it. I had a mum the other day come up to me and say she had twin girls in grade 1, and earlier in the year she had called the school because one of her girls was feeling really anxious about going to school. There were tears every morning, really struggling. And she came up to me as I was standing in the pickup line at the end of the school day and said, "I just want to thank you so much for whatever you did for my daughter, because our mornings have completely changed. Her girls are now happy to come to school. There's no more tears at bedtime about the next day. They're getting dressed when they're asked to. They're not prolonging that experience anymore." And she said that she felt it was like a miracle. And as a single mum who was struggling in the mornings with her twins and getting them to school, she couldn't thank me enough. And it was in that moment that I realized that I really felt like I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything special. There was no magic trick. I didn't have the right words. I didn't teach her child any magic trick for processing stress. All I did was be present and available for her daughter in those moments of stress and throughout the rest of the school day. So I was there in that anxious moment where mum had to leave, and I provided comfort. And I reflected back to her the emotions that she was feeling, and I reassured her that she was okay. I held the container for her to realize that in that experience, she was safe. And then throughout the rest of the day, I allowed experiences where she could process things if she needed to. So I encouraged her at lunchtime to come and seek me out, and we played, and I just allowed her to be in the experience in whatever way that was for her. So one day she came into my office and there was quite a few other little girls in there, and we were all coloring in, and it was just in the conversation that they had with each other. I didn't lead the conversation. I was just present, reflecting it back to them, allowing it to unfold, that I really think she was able to move past a stress that she was experiencing, and through something as simple as coloring and drawing and the chatter and stories that little girls tell, she was able to release whatever it was that was holding her in that stress pattern. And so the way that you do this for your own kids is by first being good in yourself, so having that space in your own emotions and your own body, your own nervous system to feel safe and calm. And then being in that with your kids and allowing opportunities for these things to come up in other activities that you do for your kids, so they don't pop up in all of those tricky moments. So in those moments where you're trying to put them to bed, in those moments where you're trying to take them to school. So you could create these moments through any type of play or activity with your kids. It might be swimming in the pool with them. It could be cooking or baking in the kitchen for them. It could be actively playing. So maybe playing with dolls, maybe playing with a play kitchen, whatever it is that your child enjoys doing. And now I don't need you to guide the play, like we're not moving the play into a space of acting out going to school. It's not as obvious as that. It's more subtle and nuanced, and it's child-led. So it's, what do you want to play today? How can we play together? So maybe what they want to play is actually a pillow fight and has nothing to do with going to school at all. So I don't want you to freak out and think, oh my God, they're reenacting some fight that's happened at school. Again, it's more subtle, more nuanced. It's not as logical as that. Often the way that our kids play is they're going to play and act out a feeling that's going to help you understand more of what's going on for them. And this was a really light bulb idea for me in my own parenting experience, is realizing that everything can be viewed through the lens of our nervous system. That whenever my kids were angry or upset or freaking out or getting physical, if I could view that through the lens of their safety system, so their nervous system is reacting to something in this moment they don't feel safe, I was able to respond in a much better way. And I was able to view it in a way of, this is more about a learning experience and I don't need to fix it for them. I just need to hold the space for them to move through it. Then gosh, life got so much easier. So if you are struggling with big emotions around school, I really want to encourage you to make more opportunities in the rest of your day. So not just on those trips to school, but after school, before bedtime, on the weekends. Make time, space, opportunities for play in whatever way that looks for you and your child. And see if you can let yourself just be curious about what's coming up for your child, what they want to talk about, the emotions that they might be playing out to you. While you're in these moments with your children, I also want you to be curious about how you're feeling, because our children often make us feel the thing that they're feeling so that they can feel more understood. I'll say that one again because it's really important. In play and in our moments of connection with our children, they often make us feel the thing that they're feeling so they can feel more understood. So if you're trying to play with your child and they're being really controlling and they're trying to control every aspect of it, and you feel like frustrated, like you have no control at all, then maybe what they're playing out for you is that this is how they're feeling in their life. And maybe you could help them with that a little bit by giving them some more choice, more responsibility, more control over their life so that they don't have to feel like this all the time. If during moments of play and connection with your child, you start feeling really annoyed by something or like really kind of turned off, no, I really don't want to do that. You feel like you want to shut down. Then often they're trying to communicate with you that that's how they feel. They feel shut down. So get curious about how you're feeling in those moments of connection and just have a think about how it might relate to what they're feeling. Being able to approach our children and their experience with the empathy, with the really deep body understanding of what they're feeling is going to help them so much to process that stress that they're feeling, because that's how we process stress. When we feel understood, we allow it to let go. We feel safe. You might notice if you've had a really stressful day at work that you don't feel kind of like until you've come home and had to talk to your partner about it or spoken to a friend. I know for me, after a really stressful day at school, absolutely I need to come home and talk about those really stressful moments before I feel like I can let it go. And our children are the same, but they don't have the language to talk and think and process it. They need to do it through connection and action and play with you. So allowing for these moments of connection and play are really important. So as you can probably tell, this is a topic I am really passionate about. If you'd like to learn more about helping your kids with emotional outbursts, angry outbursts, dealing with the stresses that come up when you are raising little ones, I would love to invite you to my online yoga circle. We've got lots of tools over there to help you as a mum deal with your nervous system first so that you can then be the container, the one who sets the tone for the rest of your family, and so that you can show up as the type of mum that you want to be. I know that you want to be the type of mum who is calm and considered and curious when your child has those big reactions, but it's really bloody hard to do that when you are being triggered by the emotions themselves. So let's work on ourselves first, coming into that even state first, and then we can help our kids from there.